killing the music.
Radiant team, ban.
And we are good to get started here for the first heroic match, the first heroic cast I'll be doing in 2016 of the AD2L Season 10 tournament. This game between Firestarter and EMPOW4. For those of you who have been watching the stream since I kicked off about an hour and a half ago, you know this is the second matchup I'll be casting. In this double header, the first game was between Kick-Ass Patrol and Three Fist Canadians. In this matchup, we're stepping up the MMR. So both of these teams originally signed up for the championship, or the champions bracket of AD2L, but because of a lack of teams signing up for that, they only had, I think, like 4 or 5 when the actual tournament was supposed to kick off. They decided to clump the champion bracket folks into the heroic bracket, and these two teams are from that championship bracket, so they'll be facing off against one another here for the first game of the season.
Radiant team pick.
Those of you just tuning in, maybe following for the first time, my name is Darmin, and I'm coming to you live on twitch.tv/DarminCast. And I am looking forward to this game because, like I said, both of these teams have been playing really well. They play at a high level. Firestarter's a team that actually won the Season 9 tournament bracket, and they were in the heroic bracket at the time, but they took the whole thing. They took first place, so they're coming off of a hot streak of wins. They're coming off a big victory, and they're looking to continue that trend. They went nearly undefeated, I think, last season. If I recall correctly, they dropped a single game, and that was to Lavender Esports, if memory serves. I would need to go back and check. But again, they're hoping to make this a flawless run to the top of their bracket. Have the bans coming out from both teams real quick. No hesitation, they know who they want to get rid of, and that is Gyrocopter and Tusk on the side of Firestarter, and Invoker OD on the side of EMPOW4. Both teams playing with a couple stand-ins here. For those of you who saw the first attempt to make the game, you saw Danda was having some PC problems in loading the game, and they've since replaced him, so they have Reaper, I believe, standing in place of Danda. First picks from both sides. They're going to open up with some support, presumably. Earthshaker will be played as a support and not a core, but we'll see. And both teams securing a stun. So, good pickups. You always want to have a stun on the team, and you don't want to give away too much of your hand too early. The second pickup going to be Visage on the side of Firestarter. And Visage is a hero who can pump out quite a bit of damage. He kind of flies under the radar because you see his hero, you see his right clicks, and it's not a ton, but when you combine the right clicks of him and his familiars, they start to add up. You combine that with, what is it, the Soul Assumption? Yeah. The Soul Assumption that builds up, and it has that nuke damage pretty early, and he can cast it every 4 seconds, and it's that continued repeated burst damage that can really start to wreak havoc on teams. Poke you with the birds, hit you with the nuke, poke you with the birds, hit you with the nuke, rinse and repeat. And in big team fight situations, that nuke is ready to be thrown on cooldown pretty much every 4 seconds. But EMPOW4 picking up the Abaddon as their second overall pick.
5 seconds remaining.
So both teams opening up with some stuns, and then following that up with some slows. So both teams have a stun, a slow, and now they're into the next round of bans. EMPOW4 banning out the Drow, definitely a logical ban here. Anytime you see
Radiant team
Visage, you don't want to
banned.
grant Drow's ranged aura damage to those additional familiar spawns. So banned out, no shocker there. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you
10
have
seconds
Firestarter banning out the Death
remaining.
Prophet. Previously, my favorite hero in Dota 2,
5 seconds
hands down.
remaining.
But I haven't played her a ton with the new changes. So
Dire team ban.
I'm curious to see. I should start playing around with her a bit more and see exactly how lethal she is. I haven't seen her played a ton on the pro circuit either,
10
so it
seconds
leads me to believe that
remaining.
she's not, buffed
5
back to where she
seconds
needs to be, or it could just
remaining.
be the meta of this game, which doesn't favor DP's pushing
Reserve
abilities
time.
with kind of the sustained ghost push. Next band's coming out, going to be the Lena being banned out by
Dire
EMPOW4 and
team
Queen of Pain being
pick.
banned out by Firestarter. And now we'll see what the two teams are actually thinking with the core of their lineup here as we head into the third and fourth picks from both squads.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds
With the picks that are
remaining.
currently out there, both teams have any number of ways they can actually
Reserve
take this.
time.
Earthshaker and Vengeful Spirit have both been played as core heroes lately. Earthshaker I see played as a core more in the amateur circuit and pub circuit than I do on the pro level. VS, I believe it's South America who routinely plays VS as a core. I'm trying to remember the specific team. I want to say it's Fnatic.
Radiant team pick.
I'm not sure. That one I might have to look up for you guys. But on the side of Firestarter, they pick up their first obvious core, which is going to be Slark. He's a dangerous one in both directions. He's a dangerous pick, but of course if he gets a good start,
10
he can snowball
seconds
out of control.
remaining.
I think it's an odd pick into the
5
Abaddon
seconds
because Slark's
remaining.
able to, land his pounce and steal those abilities and everything, but it buys
Dire
time
team
for Slark to
pick.
come out of his Shadow Dance when Abaddon's running his borrowed time ult. So until he's able to just man mode against them, he won't be able to get a pick off there at the very least. And Power
10
picking up
seconds
Luna,
remaining.
not bad. I'd like to see Empower
5
here pick up some
seconds
AoE
remaining.
abilities now. Just to have to contend with that Slark.
Reserve time.
And unfortunately, they've banned out the Lena, who's, I feel, one of the strongest heroes to handle the Slark, because even in Shadow Dance you can land that Light Strike array. And that very well could be why Firestarter decided, you know what, this is a good Slark game, let's go for it. And another popular pickup this meta is the newly remodeled Zeus. And we'll see if anyone on Team Firestarter's rocking the Arcana yet.
10 seconds
If not,
remaining.
you still have the new remodel features and everything.
5
And
seconds
I'm sure everyone here
remaining.
has the Mario taunt.
Reserve time.
And, of course, since it is the Mario taunt, I expect Kupo to be playing Zeus and rocking the denim shorts cosmetic pants. That's right. Kupo, I'm told, has a custom pair of Mario pants that he wears with Zeus when he uses his Mario coin taunt. So, look forward to seeing that from Kupo. Empower here, both teams actually, with these third and fourth picks, taking taking their time, working into their reserve time a little bit, trying to feel each other out and solidify their game plan. Fifth pick overall is probably going to be a bit reactionary from both teams here, just to fill in any gaps they may have. And it kind of depends on how EMPOW4 wants to lane this, who they want to prioritize farm on.
Dire team ban.
And squaring off against the Zeus is going to be the Shadow Fiend in the middle lane here. So, two very popular mid heroes.
10 seconds remaining.
And, not a bad pickup, so I'm
5
eager to see
seconds
how that one
remaining.
shakes out in the middle lane.
Reserve
I'm
time.
personally a big fan of Zeus. I think right now his ability to just provide nuke damage globally is a bit broken. He has, excuse me, he has either the highest or second highest hero damage per minute rate of any hero in the game. I believe the first place spot belongs to Spectre, who, once you get Diffusal, Radiance, anything like that, all of your illusions are just haunting all around the map, burning everything, either mana burning or radiance burning,
10
which is what I think
seconds
gives
remaining.
Spectre a slight edge up, as well as the right
Radiant
click
team
carry potential of
ban.
Spectre late game over Zeus. But Zeus is not one to be underestimated in terms of his raw hero damage.
Ten seconds remaining.
Last ban from Firestarter is going to be the Sand King, so
5
looking to
seconds
get rid of
remaining.
some team fight potential and yet another stun.
Reserve time.
And now it's EMPOW4's turn to ban.
Dire team pick.
So, suspecting that the Earthshaker is indeed going to be a true support here, they ban out the Darkseer to limit Firestarter's off-lane potential.
10 seconds
And not a dumb
remaining.
ban either. It's definitely a
5
potent
seconds
off-lane hero,
remaining.
and when you combine an invisible Slark with an
Reserve
Ion
time.
Shell, you get some
5 seconds remaining.
you get some
Tide
dangerous
Hunter.
combinations.
Radiant team pick.
I'm being told that the Firestarter lineup here needs more fish in it, and that request is answered as Tide Hunter is picked up and rounds off the Firestarter squad here, as well as
10
giving them
seconds
some pretty
remaining.
substantial team fight mechanics themselves. A Flying
5
Toaster,
seconds
thank you for the follow.
remaining.
Appreciate it.
Reserve
Getting a few
time.
new follows today as we kick off
10
the
seconds
AD2L Season
remaining.
10 tournament and casting the
5
first few games of
remaining.
2016. So
Takira.
excited to get back into it, and I should have called it. He was in the back of my mind when they were looking at their fourth pick, but I knew our fourth pick wasn't the spot for him. But I wanted an AoE hero. I was thinking Jakiro. His Ice Path works really well against Slark. He can dual breath wherever the Shadow Dance mechanics are. He can put down his ultimate and just burn him even though he's invisible. And I think that's a really smart pickup and a really good call by EMPOW4.
Prepare
So,
for battle.
yep. Yes, that's the one I want. Let's throw some Rick and Morty on there in the background. So, going through introductions. Last game I wasn't able to get through it without fights breaking out everywhere. We'll see if I can do so a little quicker this time. Playing the safe lane Luna is going to be V or Mr. V, as he's commonly known here on twitch.tv/DarminCast, where he's casted a few games before with me as a co-caster. So, best of luck to him and his Luna this game. Heading into the mid lane here, you have Captain Canuck playing the Shadow Fiend. Right behind him is VS, being played by P. Lorne.
I'm scared.
And breaking out of that view here for just a moment as we may have a skirmish underway. Tidehunter and Luna spotting each other out as VS kind of flanks around here, and right now they're just kind of playing chicken with one another. Tidehunter dropping an observer ward, which is definitely going to be recognized by the EMPOW4 squad, as it is going to block this neutral camp. It has a fairly large spawn box, which is about like that, I believe. There's a few custom games out there now that Dota 2 allows custom games to be made, where you can download Dota 2 maps that have the spawn boxes of each of the camps completely visible, so you know exactly where they are, exactly where to deward. And Polorn, figuring there's a ward out over here, drops his sentry into the common pole camp and starts doing the hunt, but he's not going to be able to find it with that one. So continuing introductions here, taking a look at the top lane. I want to make sure I don't miss any first bloods here, as they're kind of squaring off with Duralius in the jungle. But you have Guru Patik playing the Jakiro, and eating a little bit of harass damage from the Visage here is one of the stand-ins for EMPOW4, being played by Reaper, the Abaddon, and Duralius with an excellent fissure is going to block out the Jakiro, and that's going to be able to secure them first blood, as Klars was able to land his pounce and keep him in place long enough for Duralius to flank over and drop that fissure wall, locking him out of the safety range of his own tower and the Abaddon. Switching over to Team Firestarter here, you have Tidehunter being played by Quicksilva, and he is going to be the stand-in on that side of the river. ABC 123 123 will be playing the Zeus, and sure enough, he is rocking that Arcana cosmetic. So we'll be seeing fancy blinks if he decides to go Blink Dagger, and we'll be seeing nifty little ground icons if he secures any kills with his ultimate there. Duralius sitting on a smoke. Hey, thank you. Got a couple more follows here. So Marcel Dog, Purple Toast 49. Thank you both for the follows. I appreciate it. We've got things going off like crazy. Meanwhile, Duralius is getting a little crazy himself as he looks to 1 versus 2 here. And he throws out a stun, and it is going to lock Jakiro again on the unfortunate side of a wall. Duralius searching forward, trying to do some right-click damage of his own. Isn't able to do so, but he is able to piss off the neutral creeps enough to get himself denied by them as Slark surges forward and once again secures a kill. And so the scoreboard's going to read 0-2 in favor of Firestarters, even though there is the 1 death on Duralius. Axe of Montgomery, thank you for the follow. Always appreciated. So, for those of you just tuning in today, my name is Darmin. I've been casting Dota here for a couple years, and casting AD2L for the past 3 or 4 seasons. I cast a lot of Firestarter last season, and it turned out to be pretty fortunate as they went on to win the heroic bracket. And pausing here in case Klars, I need to announce Klars' imminent demise, but It looks like he's just going to eat a little bit of harass damage here as Kupo pulls the creep wave. And so Klars falls back and recovers a little bit and just starts farming up. So let's see if I can't get through the remainder of the dire side announcements here. As Dorelius picks a fight with Captain Canuck, who is going to have the right click damage to be able to drop him, but Zeus rotates down as well, and it's a 1-for-1 trade as Dorelius trades his life for that of Shadow Fiend, and that's going to be the first official kill going into the hands of EMPOW4. Unfortunately, still favoring Team Firestarter as ABC was able to secure that kill with an Arc Lightning. So finishing off with announcements here in the top lane is Reaper gets fissured and he looks to head into the jungle. He has brown boots, but Zeus is now level 6 and he makes use of that ultimate before Abaddon's able to get to level 6 himself. Sitting on level 4 versus level 6 on Zeus. And there's that Arcana icon sitting on the ground. Dorelius stepping forward here, trying to lock Jakiro out on the wrong side of the map once again, but is unable to do so. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, you have ABC rotating from the mid into the bot lane, helping Quicksilver secure another kill, this time against the Vengeful Spirit. So V was able to back out of harm's way and keep himself alive, keep himself full health, full mana pretty much, but unfortunately his support had to fall. So, again, 6 minutes into the game, let's finish up introductions. You have Klars playing the Slark here as he surges forward onto the Jakiro, but he's eating quite a bit of damage here. And he's looking to get out. The burn dropping him down to 75 health, but he will be able to make it out. Unfortunately, the same will not be true about Earthshaker as Reaper and Guru are able to drop him before he gets back to the tower. Now Kupo is going to be dragging the Abaddon back to the tier 1 tower, kind of putting Klars at risk with that move. And he ducks into the nooks and crannies of the forest, not quite sure at this point. Nope, he sees Reaper. The creeps are on him, so
thanks for that.
He knows he's relatively safe, but instead he was waiting on the healing salve to make it all the way out to him from the fountain. Salves up and he's good to go. So the fish army is going to go at it here once again as Klars jumps forward and engages against Reaper. With the assistance of the Zeus ult, they're able to drop the Shadow Fiend in the middle lane as well as the Abaddon in the top lane. Again, and this is all before Abaddon hits his level 6. Meanwhile, Zeus is level 8. You can see right here where EMPOW4's mid laner eventually fell, but I don't know if Zeus had planned on the assist or the kill there, but he definitely got both. The beauty and danger of the Zeus ult is, look at that, he just used it and it's going to be ready in another 50 seconds. Between bottle and mana boots, he has enough mana to cast it again off of cooldown. So
oh boy, Dire's middle tower.
They did nerf bottle quite a bit here, and you can see it only restores 60 mana per charge, still only getting 3 charges per rune, but that in conjunction with the Sage's Mask, which I suspect will eventually be turned into a Bloodstone, is quite a bit of regeneration for him here as they look to go on the middle lane here, and Captain Canuck turns and faces his attackers, doing massive right-click damage to both Kupo and ABC, who are both forced to retreat as Vengeful makes his way up there. But now we have a hasted Tidehunter and Dorelius with his fissure coming in to throw their stuns around. Luna makes the TP to the mid lane, pops her ult. She's able to drop the offlaner and supports from Firestarter with her Eclipse before eating a big Zeus ult, and it's a 2-for-2 trade as Zeus is able to, I think Zeus got both of those, yep. Zeus is able to secure 2 kills for himself at the cost of the Earthshaker and Tidehunter. So That exchange slightly favoring Firestarter, and most importantly, they traded an offlaner for a safe laner. And in the top lane here, catching just the tail end of it, you have
Dire's middle tower's
Abaddon
under
diving
attack.
into the small fish, let's call him. Big fish making big plays in the middle lane, small fish making small plays in the
Oh
top
boy,
lane.
Dire's middle tower's under attack.
Fissure, the tail end of it, just the tip, catching Abaddon as he dove into the river there, trying to escape the damage coming out from Kupo. And a tip's all that it'll take. All that it'll take. Getting some Twitch chat love. I love you guys too.
Not on my watch.
Always and forever. Luna, having died in the middle lane, retreats back to her bottom lane to recover some of her farm. And speaking of farm, let's take a look at last hits here. As ABC and Quicksilver look to surge forward here and see if they can't catch Mr. V out of position. They're not able to do so, but as she retreats to safety, VS is going to reveal herself, and that's going to be enough to cost her her life. And they're able to give it a reciprocal kill here by dropping the VS, and the rotations now coming in from Jakiro is hopefully going to be able to catch ABC out, but he teleports away before Ice Path is able to find its mark, and before Shadow Race is able to do enough damage, or Shadow Fiend's right click in general is able to do enough damage. Duralius throwing out a Fissure just to make sure his ABC ally is going to make it out alive. Meanwhile, on the top lane, the tables have started to turn now that Abaddon is level 6. He's playing much more aggressive, and he's the one charging after small fish now that he has his shield and his temporary immortality in borrowed
Dire's
time.
bottom tower's under attack.
Here in the bot lane, you have the second tower being hunted by EMPOW4 here. Fissure again on the mark, landing on Jakiro, and Duralius
That's right.
must feel like he was personally wronged by this Jakiro in a previous life, because he has hit him with a lot of those rock walls. And to finish off the kill, you have Zeus throwing down lightning bolts. Holorn hanging out just in the fog of war, just out of sight from Kupo. And Keeper's looking to dive. We'll see if they pop out of the shadows here. And there's the shield, there's the VS, and they are looking to dive. Here comes the stun, maybe? Oh, but before he's able to get in range, Kupo's able to stun him in place, stun Holorn in place with one of his familiars as Duralius looks to make space for him. Unfortunately, it's not going to be there, and that's a 3-for-0 trade as Kupo and Duralius both fall in the top lane, and ABC's Zeus falls elsewhere. But the fight's not over yet as Captain Canuck and Klars face off over in the jungle here, and Quicksilver and Reaper duel one another here in the lane. Quicksilver throwing out his ultimate, and Zeus is back in the game here. Teleports to the lane, throws his ult, starts throwing lightning bolts, and is able to secure a kill against VS, but that's it so far. And they've traded small fish for it, but they're also able to finish off the Shadow Fiend, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 trade there. Again, most of this gold going the way of Zeus. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, Zeus is 8-1-3. So he has 11
Oh boy, Dire's bottom
kill
tower's
involvements
getting
out of the team's 14 kills. Jakiro trying to keep Firestarters off their tower here.
hit. That force field leads me to believe
And
that
with the
Dire
teleporting
fortified their
Reaper, I think
structure.
they'll be able to do so, and you see the remainder of EMPOW4
Oh man,
rotate
Dire's
into the
bottom tower's
jungle,
denied.
head back to safety. If only EMPOW4 had a Zeus of their own, that Tidehunter might be fish food. For those of you unfamiliar with how I stream, there is a 4-minute delay. I do this in order to prevent screen sniping, anything like that. I understand that the tournament rules say you only need to have a 2-minute delay, and Dota TV is only a 2-minute delay, but I like to play extra cautious and everything else, so sometimes I don't see your chat until 4 minutes later. It can get difficult for me to piece together what I said 4 minutes ago with what I'm saying now, but in this case I'm seeing the spam that says Dat Fissure, and yeah, I'm talking about the one here in the jungle that got him with just the tip, and it was pretty good.
Oh jeez, bro, Radiant's bottom tower just got denied.
Duralius has been using his fissure pretty liberally, and that's definitely what you want out of an Earth Shaker. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as the old cliche goes. So if you throw a fissure and it's off the mark, oh well, you'll be good to go here relatively soon. You have the Yules up on Zeus, so it looks like he was not using that to make a Bloodstone, using it to make a Yules. And they're trying to stun lock Reaper here in place. The Zeus ultimate is thrown, but it's not going to be near enough to drop him. He's still sitting on 150 health and an Apothic shield, so he's able to get his way back to safety, back to home. Tidehunter does have his ult, and so they're going to look to push forward here. But they need to be careful, because down here in the bottom lane, Luna's continuing to farm. Taking a look at the net worth, even though Zeus is what, 8-1 still? Yep, 8-1. But Luna has enough farm to be keeping toe-to-toe with Zeus, and even this Shadow Fiend, who has not gone 8-1, sitting on just 2-3 himself, is actually out farming Zeus. So while he might have some of the highest hero damage in the game, he does not have the highest farm in the game by any means. Duralius surging forward here, trying to help out Quicksilver, but is going to be hit by a flank of Empower heroes as they move up and crush him. Now it's Clark's turn to flank, and they're looking to make a go here against Captain Canuck and the Jakiro in the river. Meanwhile, in the dire jungle, you had Tidehunter being killed off by Reaper and Empower. Both teams losing 2 heroes, 2 supports for a support and an off lane, and they're going to call it quits at that and head back to their respective farming positions.
Radiant's middle tower is under
like
attack.
Both teams walking out of that fight pretty much even. A lot more damage done by Firestarter, but the gold exchange and XP exchange are going to pretty much break even.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
You have ABC and I think it was Duralius both stacking up some camps here, so plenty of neutral camps for whoever it is that's going to farm those. I presume that's going to be Klars, and he does teleport up to that top lane, so he heads into one of the neutral camp spots and help me farm it up. Meanwhile, keeping your eye on that net worth chart on the left, you have... Oh, why block it? I say keep an eye on it and then I block it. You had Luna step ahead of Slark there for just a second until Slark was able to finish off those neutral camps. And 18 minutes into the game, you have just a mere 1,000 gold lead in favor of EMPOW4, and it's kind of swung around that 1,000 mark back and forth a few times here, based on kills and towers. Speaking of towers, you have EMPOW4 making their way into the bottom lane here, looking to pressure the first tier 2 tower of the game. Firestarter willing to sacrifice the glyph for it, suggesting that they're going to get in position here to try to make a defense. And the fissure and first lightning bolt are thrown, but it's going to be too little too late. The tower falls. Quicksilver, ABC, and Duralius all in place in case EMPOW4 want to play aggressive and dive into their waiting arms, but
Radiant's top tower is
playing
destroyed.
smart Dota, they decide to focus on objectives. They take the tower and they back up together, so no stragglers left behind for Firestarter to pick off. And now it looks like they might be thinking of implementing the murder ball Dota technique, where they just roll together as 4 or 5 and force team fight after team fight and push tower after tower. You have Ice Path being thrown out, it's going to catch ABC in front of his tower, but no real danger there. You have some drawings on the map from ABC saying, guys, they're in our jungle, be careful.
Whoa, initiating killing spree mode.
Clar is making a flank into the middle lane, and I missed the actual engagement there, but he is able to pick off the Shadow Fiend. And a big ult coming out from Quicksilver is able to catch 3, and now Abaddon with borrowed time is one of the last survivors in this middle lane, but the Fissure is going to catch him as he makes his retreat, and there's enough slow in place where I think he's not going to be able to get away. He's making a run for it. He has phase boots, but Klars is here. Klars has pounce. He lands it, and down she goes. So Abaddon falls with his allies. And in the top lane, you have Quicksilver teleporting back, seeing if he can't catch out the lone survivor from EMPOW4, the Jakiro. And that's a 4-for-0 exchange going in way of Firestarter. Sure, they lost the bot tier 2 tower, but they make an excellent defense prior to the tier 2 tower mid, and it's about a 3,000 gold swing in their favor, as well as 3,700 experience. So taking a quick look at experience, you can see it's been pretty even the entire game, never quite cresting that 1,000 mark in either team's favor. After that big team fight, you can see all the red dots along the bottom. Huge dip into Firestarter's favor as they take the first substantial lead of the game. The net worth chart not showing quite as dramatic a lead as the net worth was at the time favoring EMPOW4, and it's still a 4,000 gold swing in Firestarter's favor, but it's only going to put them net up 2k. Fissure landing here against 2. And EMPOW4 not ready to let their foot off the gas pedal just yet, but Klars once again focusing on Captain Canuck here, pouncing forward and attacking. This time, P-Lauren's able to swap him out of danger and into safety before he falls. But the focus is definitely on this Shadow Fiend for now, as he eats a Fissure, a Gush, and Quicksilver getting caught out by an Ice Path there as he tries to make his retreat behind the tower. And slowly but surely, this tower is starting to fall. That's one of the other benefits of having a Jakiro on your team. You can throw this liquid fire and you can see it's just chipping away. 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. And now it's definitely in deny range. And while I'm missing kills, while I'm focusing on towers, as Klars is sneaking around, shadow dancing around, and picking off first the Jakiro, now the VS, and he's not done. He's starting to snowball. He's got 2 or 3 items to back him up here, and 2 or 3 critical core items. Is he has the Yasha from move speed, attack speed. He has the Shadow Blade for initiations and escape, and you can see the Drums of Endurance is down to 3 charges already. That's something that can't be underestimated at this bracket of Dota. It's making sure you use all of your activatables whenever it's timely to do so. Like right now he has the Ring of Aquila activated, so his creeps are actually receiving the benefit of that increased armor and everything. But if you want the creep wave to fall back into your favor, you disable that. Meanwhile,
accident. It was an accident. I
missed where that one took place, but Zeus getting another kill against Luna here. Missing quite a few kills this game here, so I apologize for that. It's hard to watch every hero in the game, and that's exactly what you need to do when a Zeus is in play, because any hero is a potential target when you have a global nuke that's hitting for already 350 damage. A little bit more than that because he has the Ether Lens, so it's given him that increased spell resistance, that increased range, and of course an 8% increased spell damage. So one of the new items that was introduced this patch, along with the Dragon Lance, the Fairy Fire, and I forget what the name of it is. That this thing, Iron Talon. Iron Talon, which is the armor and the Quelling Blade. Firestarter heading into the Roach Pit here, and EMPOW4 are going to send in the Centaur to scout it out. It's going to be used up, delaying it a little bit, but Roche is definitely low, and now a fight's breaking out as Reaper surges forward, looking to drop possibly the Earthshaker, but he's getting just creep blocked by the Kupo and the Reaper. But speaking of being blocked, Kupo's going to be trapped with the enemy here by this fissure, and that's no place to be, as Luna's thrown out the Eclipse, getting a few kills, but a huge Echo Slam coming out from Durelius is going to wipe out the remainder of the team here, as Jakiro's been pushing this top lane solo, and that's going to result in Roshan falling in favor of Team Firestarter. Durelius needs to be careful he doesn't need too many thunderclaps here.
He owed me money.
With ABC heading into the top lane here to push Jakiro out of the lane, so they don't eat too much damage here to their tier 3 tower. Big Fishy making big plays. Yep. Unfortunately, Tidehunter did not make a big play that time, as he was one of the 2 casualties on Team Firestarter. That big play was brought to you by Earthshaker with a big Echo Slam. Mr. V also had a pretty sizable play here, as he gets dove on now by Klars, who's finished off his Sanjin Yash and is also sitting on the Aegis, and Luna's starting to fall off in the net worth here as Klars' Slark picks up. V going 6-6, so he's tied up. Klars spots out the Ancient stack, and he's got allies behind him. Klars seeing BS step forward just a little bit too far. He's going to dive him, and along with that familiar damage, it's going to be enough. I think he's going to be able to turn his sights onto Reaper, and he does for now. Meanwhile, back at the tier 1, you have Zeus fighting it out with Shadow Fiend, and they are able to ultimately drop him. Reaper trying to re-engage here now that he has another shield, but Klars switches targets yet again. This time, turning over to Jakiro, is able to drop him for the 2nd kill, 3rd pick off. He picked off Luna, then he picked off VS, and it's forcing EMPOW4 to respond. Durelius died somewhere in that mix too. Looked like he must have died to Shadow Fiend, and proclaims in all chat that he thought he had his ultimate. But of course, we know he did not, as he used it down here in the Roshan fight. It's a great success, but no matter how successful you are, it still puts your ultimate on cooldown. Klars diving onto Reaper here, and just a couple right clicks along with a lightning bolt is enough to trigger Reaper's borrowed time. So that's going to be on cooldown. Again, it's another one of those ultimates that doesn't have that long of a timer, so it'll be ready to go through this game in 30 seconds. And by sticking his face out in front of the tower, he is able to prevent quite a bit of damage done to the tower. So good defense from him and the rest of his team as they respawn and head into the middle lane to make sure they force out the Dire squad.
Oh, Radiant's top tower is under attack!
Meanwhile, Firestarter looked to back out, but not without claiming one more victory, and they do so by taking the top lane. EMPOW4 feeling like they might be a little bit base locked here as they look to defend the tier 3 in the top lane, throwing out a bit of right click harass and right click damage to Klars. Durelius throwing a fissure of his own and trying to keep some of the EMPOW4 players at bay, keep them from thinking they have the ability to dive out and engage too much. Klars back to full health thanks to the Shadow Dance regeneration, which has given him 124 regen per second. Pokes his head into the middle lane, pokes it a few times, and checking the vision out here, you have EMPOW4, who's pretty limited. They have that one ward here in the jungle, but beyond that, they're pretty cautious about where they're going. But on the other side of the map, you have the deep ward from Firestarter along with some of the rune wards, but beyond that, they don't have much vision themselves. ABC looking for any vision that EMPOW4 might have, and I thought he had spotted it here with the lightning bolt, and it looks like he doesn't. So he continues to hunt, he continues to look, but he won't find any there. And as I say that, you have some defensive wards being placed by EMPOW4 as they predict they'll need to make a defensive stand here shortly. Drawings on the map from Jakiro indicate they're most likely going to smoke up and look for a pick-off of their own, and that's exactly what they do. They head into the jungle, and it's Doraleus who they run into, hanging out right next to this newly placed observer ward, and it's going to break Jakiro's smoke as Doraleus blinks back to the safety of his allies, and they should be aware that they've smoked at this point. Feeling like they've dewarded the entire enemy jungle with the Zeus lightning bolts.
Illusion.
Doraleus circles the enemy jungle and says, "Hey guys, let's head in there, see if we can get a pick off of our own," but they see Mr. V and Reaper hanging out in base. They know some of their prime targets aren't out playing. They also see the Jakiro in the top lane here, throwing down his Macropyre, his ultimate, and burning down the creep wave, so they'll have to hustle to get back to base in time as Firestarter look to chip away at the towers, and right now it looks like they're just playing the slow siege game. They're up 32-16 on the scoreboard in terms of kills. Reaper just standing in front of his tower is going to get engaged on by Slark and Quicksilver. So he drops to about half before realizing he was under attack, and then he falls back to his base. Meanwhile, in the middle, Lars rotates again, and a few heavy right clicks onto the Luna, who's still susceptibly squishy. You can see here, she just doesn't have a ton of health items. She has the drums, she has the power treads, which were on agility instead of strength, so lower HP pool. Big Fishy diving in, Little Fishy right behind him, and the fish combo sets its fishy eyes on VS, and they're able to drop him very quickly. Meanwhile, Zeus is focusing on the Jakiro, and that's going to be it. With just 3 heroes dead, Firestarter are looking to take the first set of racks, and before they fall, GG is called by EMPOW4, and that is the first game of the series going the way of Team Firestarter as they continue what has to be like a 15-game winning streak here in AD2L. The first game of Season 10 for them, and they're off to a great start. And so far this season, they are undefeated. So, Game 1 going their way. Stay tuned. We'll be heading into Game 2 here shortly between Team Firestarter and Team EMPOW4. I have been Darmin, coming to you live from twitch.tv/DarminCast. You can catch me out, you can catch me out. Let's go with that. You can catch me out on Twitter. You can catch me out on YouTube. You can catch me out on Twitch, all under the moniker DarminCast. If you like what you've seen today, please go ahead and hit that follow button. Tell your friends, family, loved ones, enemies, relatives, whoever, and get them to join the Dota party. I'm going to kick off some music for a couple minutes here as the 2 team captains get ready to set up the lobby, get into Game 2, and we'll be back shortly. Thanks, and stay tuned.